Welcome to Mindful with Minaa, where we explore how mindfulness can enhance your relationships and well-being. I'm your host, Minaa B, a licensed social worker, mental health educator, and author. Through insightful discussions, I will guide you towards self-awareness and self-efficacy, empowering you to effectively manage your relationships, reduce burnout, and be more present with yourself. So let's jump into today's episode. What's up, mindful community? I am back with new episodes for the remainder of this year. I was on a mini summer break and I have just been taking some time to myself to process the way the last year has gone because it's just been such a whirlwind, but also trying to enjoy moments of ease and relaxation, spending time with friends and family. And another thing that I have been doing during this time off is learning how to love myself more. And that is actually what I want to talk to you about today because I think we all can learn how to love ourselves a little more. The world can be harsh at times, and we all face adversity. And so I know that life is not always easy. I'm sure you have had adequate amount of struggles in your past, and there are things you've had to learn how to overcome. And so, how can you learn to love yourself more? And that is a question that I have been asking myself daily because sometimes I do know that when things are going wrong, I find that it can take a while for me to get into this rhythm of learning how to cultivate joy and happiness. And even this season that I'm in, I found myself having days where I would wake up feeling like there was this dark cloud hanging over my head. And I was just like, I need to figure out how to get out of this doom and gloom feeling that I'm in. And I need to focus more on myself. And so that is what I have been doing lately. And I want to share some things that has worked for me that I hope can work for you. And so the first thing is learning to practice self-compassion is very important when it comes to learning how to love yourself more. The reality is we're human. And so we're going to make mistakes. And there are also times where we know better and we make a choice not to do better. And the reasoning behind that, well, there can be a multitude of reasons for why we know what's right, and yet we still do what might seem like it's the wrong choice. Sometimes we're hoping for a different outcome, even though the answer is right in front of our face and we know what the outcome is going to be. Sometimes we're in a state of in denial, and so we kind of have a hard time seeing the truth for what it is. And so we keep pursuing things or doing things that we know may not be the right thing to do, but we have a hard time facing the truth for what it is. And so one of the best ways to learn how to move forward in the midst of having failures and recognizing that you made a mistake, instead of beating yourself up, instead of criticizing yourself, instead of engaging in self-deprecation, what would it look like to show yourself some grace? What would it look like for you to practice self-compassion by acknowledging your feelings and reminding yourself that it's okay to be imperfect, reminding yourself that making mistakes is a natural part of the process of being human, reminding yourself that sometimes our decision-making is flawed. It's coming from a place of anxiety. It's coming from a place of depression. Sometimes it's coming from a place of desperation, from a place of self-neglect and self-abandonment. And so when you have self-compassion and you learn how to show yourself grace, you open up a part of your spirit and your soul where you can look inward and say, man, I can admit I did that thing because I was really desperate for love. I was really desperate for attention. I was really desperate for something, and the outcome isn't what I wanted it to be. And now I have to learn from it. That doesn't mean I'm a terrible person, but it just means that I have some more growing and learning to do. And so when you're thinking about how to love yourself more, the question I want you to be thinking about is, how can you learn to show yourself more compassion? The next way you can learn how to love yourself more is by setting healthy boundaries. Now, you already know how I feel about boundaries. We all need to engage in self protection. And boundaries is how we protect our energy, it's how we protect our spirit, it's how we protect and preserve our energy source. The reality is, we cannot be everything to everyone. And as humans, we have limitations. We don't have the capacity or the ability to give and give and give and give unlimited supplies of ourselves. At some point, we have to ask ourselves, when does this stop? And the only way it's going to stop is if you set a limit around what you give. And so having boundaries is about moving through the world and recognizing I can't say yes to everything. And so I need to be mindful of my yes bank. Remember when we were kids, piggy banks were really popular. And so, of course, whenever you had change or if your parents gave you $1, maybe you had some allowance, you would put it in your piggy bank. And whenever you were ready to spend that money, you would pop that piggy bank open and all of this money would pour out. And so I like to look at it as how many yeses am I putting in this piggy bank? Because once I open up that piggy bank, there's going to be an overflow of responsibilities. And you don't want to be that person who is now opening up your yes bank and you realize, oh my gosh, every single moment of my day is filled with responsibilities because I did not give myself the opportunity to say no to something. I did not set a limit. All right. And so I want you to just be thinking about what are the boundaries that you need to set, because loving yourself means recognizing when you can or cannot do something. Loving yourself means I'm going to put rules on other people, but I'm going to set boundaries with myself. So if I set a rule with someone, I have to uphold that rule through my boundaries. Loving yourself means sometimes my boundaries are going to ebb and flow. And loving yourself also means paying attention to life experiences so that you can recognize the areas in your life where you do need to set boundaries. Now, another way you can learn to love yourself is by speaking more kindly to yourself, but also about yourself. I truly believe that positive self talk helps to enhance self esteem as well as confidence. And it also gives us a better sense of who we are. It helps us live more authentically, and it helps us feel more at ease being who we are when we enter certain social environments. We don't feel like we have to conform. We don't feel like we have to code switch. And there are so many nuances to why we do those things. But sometimes at the root of why we're always in a state of maybe feeling like we're not accepted, not loved, or cared for, or we feel like we don't belong, is because often we think about certain experiences that we had that dictates that type of thinking, but we sometimes don't realize how we think about ourselves is also creating this illusion that we're not good enough. And so if you're always picking yourself apart, telling yourself you're not good enough, having imposter syndrome and saying things like you're not smart enough, you're not worthy, you're not deserving, and really tearing yourself apart, that is going to impact your sense of self and how you move through the world. And so I'm encouraging you to pay attention to your inner dialogue. I want you to try to replace negative self-talk with positive affirmations. Remember to practice self-compassion. Remember to be kind to yourself. For every disappointment or failure, I want you to be thinking about a strength as well as an accomplishment that you achieved so that you're not always dwelling on what went wrong. I also want you to remember that just because something is going wrong in your life and just because you messed up or made a mistake or failed at something, that does not define the totality of your life. So there's a difference between I failed at something versus I am a failure. And if you're already in a mindset of thinking that you are a failure, that also is going to interrupt your ability to engage in the change process because you already have determined that you cannot change because you believe you are a failure. But if you say, I failed at this thing, You recognize, well, if I failed at this thing, what decision do I need to make next time so that I can achieve this thing or do better at trying to achieve this thing? So I just want you to be paying attention to how you talk to yourself, because how you talk to yourself matters. The things you say about yourself, would you say that to somebody that you deeply love? If you wouldn't, then why would you say it to yourself? So think about how you talk to yourself and try to include more positive language regarding how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself. Now, another way I feel like we can all learn to love ourselves is I believe that we all need to continue to be curious about who we are. And being curious about who we are requires a great level of self care. It requires a great level of vulnerability, and it also requires adventure. Learning to love yourself can look like, how am I going to take care of myself this week? Maybe I'm going to take myself to the movies. Maybe I'm going to take myself on a solo trip. Maybe I'm going to go to the bookstore and see what new books are out or what new things are sparking my interest. I truly believe that when you love yourself, you go above and beyond for yourself. And you go above and beyond by trying to figure out, what can I give myself more of? And when you're thinking about it through that lens, you also are saying, how can I lean into the experiences of the world and figure out what's out there that I haven't seen or haven't done or haven't experienced? Who do I want to experience these things with? And maybe there are some things you want to experience in life that you want to do with a friend or a partner, but they're not available. That doesn't mean that you can't do it alone. And so I truly believe a vital component of self love is consistently pouring back into yourself by enjoying life, by saying, you know what? I deserve to take myself out to a restaurant and enjoy alone time. I deserve to take myself on a mini vacation or even a staycation. I deserve to take myself somewhere local in my community. Maybe I want to go to a museum. Maybe there is an exhibition happening somewhere. Maybe there's a show that I want to see and I'm just going to go and do it. What is holding me back from being with myself? And why can't I be alone? Because I believe loving ourselves also means being so comfortable in our skin that we recognize that, yes, community is important. Having friendships are important. Being in relationships is so satisfying, but being alone and practicing solitude is just as beautiful as being connected to other people. Being connected to yourself is just as beautiful as being connected to other people. So I truly encourage you to practice these different ways of learning how to love yourself more. I would love to hear ideas that you have and different ways you plan to explore more of who you are. So as you listen to this episode, feel free to leave a comment if you're listening on Spotify and write a review on Apple, wherever it is that you're listening. I want you to start thinking about the ways you can love yourself more and share it so that the community can also read your comments and also take a few notes on things they can be doing to love themselves more as well. That's all for today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed what you just listened to, please take a moment to rate and review this podcast on your preferred platform. Also, don't forget to share it with a friend and on social media. To stay connected with me and my work, follow me on social media and subscribe to the Mindful with Minaa newsletter, which can be found on my website, www.minab.com. You can also continue learning from me by ordering my book, Owning Our Struggles, which is available at all major book retailers. Stay tuned for a new episode next week, and most importantly, remember to be present and stay mindful. Take care, and goodbye for now.